Princess Anne finally confronting King Charles to tell Prince William the truth about Princess Diana's tragic accident, or she will have to expose the real autopsy results to the public. Welcome viewers to my channel. Please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. Even decades later, the memory of that fateful night in Paris still resonates with the intensity of a wound that refuses to heal. August 31, 1997, is a date etched into the minds of millions, a date that transformed the landscape of the British monarchy forever. For the world, Princess Diana's death was a shock that transcended borders, social status, and cultural barriers. People who had never seen the royal family in person felt the impact as if they had lost a loved one themselves. The sheer enormity of grief was amplified by the speed of media coverage, the relentless speculation, and the mystery surrounding the circumstances of the accident. To understand why Princess Anne now stands at the precipice of revealing a truth long concealed, we must first return to that night and examine the shadow it cast on everyone it touched. Diana was not merely a princess, she was an icon. She represented a bridge between tradition and modernity, an embodiment of compassion in a world often dominated by rigid protocol and detachment. Her presence had a humanizing effect on the monarchy, a warmth that made the royal family relatable to ordinary people. Yet her very visibility made her a target. The press followed her relentlessly, paparazzi cameras blinding her at every turn, capturing not just her public appearances but her private moments, her laughter, her tears, her family life. The combination of public fascination and private vulnerability created a pressure cooker atmosphere that no one, not even the strongest of individuals, could navigate without difficulty. On that night in Paris, the narrative that unfolded was both tragic and enigmatic. Diana and her companion, Dodi Fayed, were fleeing the relentless pursuit of photographers when their car crashed in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Official reports would eventually classify the event as an accident caused by reckless driving and excessive speed. Yet, even from the earliest moments, whispers of discrepancies and unanswered questions began circulating. Eyewitness accounts varied. Some elements of the investigation seemed rushed or opaque. Questions about the car, the driver, the security arrangements, and even the medical response were left unanswered or inadequately explained. For those within the royal family, particularly Princess Anne, these inconsistencies were never trivial. They hinted at layers of complexity that the public would never see, layers that demanded scrutiny, understanding, and, eventually, disclosure. The aftermath of Diana's death was a delicate balancing act. The monarchy had to manage the flood of public grief while simultaneously preserving dignity and authority. Princess Anne, known for her stoic composure and unwavering sense of duty, witnessed firsthand the immense strain placed upon her family. She observed her brother, King Charles, in his moments of private anguish, the careful way he navigated public appearances while suppressing personal grief. She saw the effect on Prince William and Prince Harry, boys thrust into the spotlight under circumstances no child should endure. Each member of the royal household experienced the loss uniquely, yet collectively, they were united by the weight of a tragedy that had become both intensely personal and impossibly public. For Anne, the tragedy was compounded by the presence of unanswered questions. She noticed small details, fragments of information that did not align with the official narrative. Reports from officials, whispered conversations among palace aides, and fragments of internal investigations painted a picture far more nuanced than what was presented to the world. As the years passed, she pieced together evidence that suggested the official story was incomplete, that elements of Diana's death had been obscured for reasons both pragmatic and, at times, protective. The realization of this discrepancy was not just a matter of curiosity, it was a moral imperative. Secrets that were left unexamined, she knew, could not only distort history but continued to affect those directly involved, particularly her nephew William, who carried the invisible scars of his mother's absence. The shadow of tragedy extended beyond the immediate family. Public mourning was intense, almost surreal. Millions lined the streets of London to pay their respects. Candlelit vigils appeared spontaneously, news anchors spoke with reverence, and ordinary citizens expressed grief with a rawness that was both beautiful and haunting. In this environment, the royal family was forced to navigate a dual reality, their private grief and the expectations of a global audience. For Princess Anne, who often maintained a public facade of discipline and reserve, the pressure was immense. She had to manage her own emotional response while also observing the reactions of others, noting discrepancies, inconsistencies, and gaps in the narrative that nod at her sense of justice and truth. Anne's awareness of these discrepancies grew over time, nurtured by access to information that few outside the inner circle could obtain. She reviewed internal documents, spoke discreetly to confidants, and observed the subtleties in her family's behavior. Slowly, the picture became clearer. There were elements of Diana's death, and the events surrounding it, that had never been fully explained, even to those most intimately involved. This realization weighed heavily on her. To maintain silence was to uphold a version of reality that she knew to be incomplete, perhaps even misleading. The tension between loyalty to her family and the ethical imperative to reveal the truth became an unrelenting burden. The tragedy was not merely historical, it continued to shape lives. Prince William and Prince Harry grew up under the shadow of loss, their experiences colored by a grief that was compounded by secrecy. For William in particular, the absence of clarity about his mother's death was a persistent source of frustration, confusion, and pain. Princess Anne recognized that providing him with the truth, while emotionally challenging, might also offer a form of closure or understanding that had been denied to him for decades. This awareness became central to her current dilemma, the choice between continuing to protect the royal narrative or confronting it directly for the sake of her nephew's right to know. The weight of responsibility for the truth fell heavily on Anne. She understood that revealing what she knew could destabilize the carefully curated image of the monarchy. It could provoke public outrage, intense media scrutiny, and personal fallout for her family. And yet, she also recognized that withholding the information perpetuated a different kind of harm, one that affected William's understanding of his mother, the historical record, and the integrity of the royal institution itself. In this context, every choice carried profound consequences, and every decision was laden with moral and emotional complexity. Moreover, the shadow of tragedy was amplified by the ongoing fascination of the public and media with Diana's life and death. Books, documentaries, interviews, and endless speculation kept her story alive in the collective consciousness. While this attention served to immortalize her legacy, it also complicated the family's ability to maintain control over the narrative. Anne's internal struggle was intertwined with this external reality. How could she honor Diana's memory and serve her nephew without being swept into the storm of public and media scrutiny that her revelations might unleash? As Anne prepares for what may be the most consequential conversation of her life, the gravity of her role becomes increasingly clear. She is not merely confronting a sibling, she is confronting decades of carefully managed history, a network of secrecy, and a moral imperative that transcends personal discomfort. Her choice will have implications not only for her immediate family but for the monarchy and the public's perception of it. The shadow of tragedy that began in a Paris tunnel in 1997 now stretches across decades, touching the present and threatening to reshape the future. In the end, the shadow of tragedy is more than memory, it is responsibility. It is the awareness that what remains unspoken carries a weight that can no longer be ignored. For Princess Anne, this weight has become unbearable, demanding action, demanding truth, demanding courage. She stands at the edge of revelation, the tension between loyalty and conscience nearly tangible. It is a place of profound ethical and emotional complexity, a crucible in which history, family, and morality collide. The world outside may only see the polished veneer of royalty, but within, the human heart beats with questions, pain, and the relentless pursuit of truth. And so the stage is set. The shadow of tragedy is no longer a distant memory but a living, breathing force shaping every decision, every conversation, every secret. Princess Anne's next steps will carry immense consequences, and the story that has remained untold for decades is on the verge of exposure. The gravity of what she is about to do, the courage required, and the potential fallout will unfold in ways the world has never imagined. The tragedy that began in the darkness of a Parisian tunnel now extends into the very heart of the monarchy, casting its shadow over those who must live with it, those who must confront it, and those who will be forever changed by the truths finally revealed. Within the walls of the royal residences, behind ornate doors and carefully guarded corridors, history lives in silence. There are rooms whose walls seem to hum with the weight of secrets, documents, letters, and records that have never seen the light of public scrutiny. For decades, these hidden pieces of the past have shaped decisions, influenced narratives, and preserved the monarchy's carefully curated image. It is within this quiet, shadowed world that Princess Anne begins to uncover truths that could shake the very foundation of her family. Secrets, long buried and meticulously protected, now threatened to surface. Princess Anne has always understood the power of information. To her, knowledge is both a weapon and a shield. It is a means of protecting loved ones, maintaining stability, and asserting moral authority when needed. In the case of her late sister-in-law, Diana, these secrets are more than trivial, they are central to understanding a tragedy that has haunted her family for decades. The vaults of royal history are filled with letters, internal reports, and even aspects of the autopsy that have been shielded from public view. Some were kept hidden to protect reputations, others to maintain the facade of a smooth, orderly monarchy. Anne has spent years quietly piecing together fragments, connecting dots, and verifying details that could finally illuminate the truth. What she finds within these vaults is as unsettling as it is illuminating. Documents that contradict official accounts, letters written in moments of raw honesty, and reports that were quietly filed away, all reveal a story more complicated than the one presented to the public. These are not sensationalized rumors or speculative accounts, they are first-hand pieces of evidence that hint at the depth of the secrecy surrounding Diana's death. Every note, every page, every annotation has its weight. Each one forces Anne to confront the reality that the official narrative has omitted, concealed, and in some cases, distorted key facts. The magnitude of what she holds is both exhilarating and terrifying. As she moves carefully through the vault, Anne cannot help but feel the enormity of responsibility pressing down on her. This is not simply about revealing the past, it is about justice, clarity, and the moral obligation to provide answers to those most affected. Prince William, who has lived with unanswered questions and partial truths for decades, has a right to know the full story. But the risk is immense. Exposing these secrets could destabilize the monarchy, provoke a media frenzy, and fracture family trust. Anne is acutely aware that knowledge comes with consequences, and that the act of uncovering the truth is inseparable from the act of confronting power. One particularly significant discovery is a set of private letters written by Diana herself. In them, she expresses concerns and fears that were never shared publicly, moments of vulnerability and clarity that offer insight into her life and her relationships within the royal family. These letters are not merely emotional, they are revelatory, shedding light on dynamics and decisions that had gone unnoticed or misunderstood. For Anne, the letters are a confirmation that her instincts about the hidden truth were correct. They are a reminder that Diana's life, and her death, cannot be fully understood through the official lens alone. Alongside the letters, Anne discovers documents related to the medical examination following the accident. Certain findings were never released publicly, and others were summarized in ways that obscured critical details. Though she cannot share every detail without unleashing controversy, she understands that these documents, in combination with the letters, form a clearer picture of what really happened that night. The more she reads, the more urgent the need becomes to address the truth, not merely for historical accuracy, but for the emotional well-being of her family. The weight of silence has grown unbearable, and the moral imperative to act becomes increasingly pressing. The secrecy within the royal vault is not incidental. It is a deliberate structure, a mechanism designed to control information, manage public perception, and protect the monarchy from scandal. Over decades, generations of royals and aides have contributed to this system, carefully curating which facts remain in the public eye and which are hidden behind locked doors. Anne's access to this world has been rare and guarded, earned through a combination of trust, diligence, and her own position within the family. She knows that what she now holds in her hands could never have reached the public through ordinary channels, it would require deliberate action, courage, and an unwavering commitment to the truth. Yet, even as she acknowledges the power of what she has uncovered, Anne is aware of the dangers inherent in its revelation. The monarchy has survived on the delicate balance between public fascination and institutional discretion. To expose these secrets would be to disrupt that balance, to invite scrutiny, criticism, and perhaps even legal consequences. But Anne also understands that the longer these truths remain hidden, the greater the emotional and moral toll. Secrets do not merely protect, they also constrain, distort, and burden those who carry them. For Anne, the question is no longer whether to act, but how. Her thoughts inevitably turn to King Charles. He is both her brother and the steward of the monarchy, the man whose decisions have long influenced the narrative surrounding Diana. The vaults she has explored contain implications that directly affect him, choices he made, and information he allowed to remain concealed. Approaching him is not a simple matter of conversation, it is a calculated confrontation, an ethical negotiation, and an emotional gamble. Every word, every gesture, every expression must be considered. The secrecy she has uncovered is not merely a matter of history, it is a present, living challenge that demands careful handling, moral clarity, and personal courage. Anne is also keenly aware of the emotional stakes for Prince William. To reveal these secrets is to place him at the center of a storm of emotional and public attention. He has endured years of speculation, rumor, and partial truths. The knowledge that Anne now possesses could provide the clarity he has long sought, yet it also carries the potential to open old wounds, ignite public debate, and reshape his understanding of his family and his mother's life. The tension between emotional necessity and potential harm is acute, and Anne is forced to navigate this ethical tightrope with care. In contemplating her next steps, Anne reflects on the purpose of secrecy and the consequences of revelation. Secrets can shield, but they can also erode trust. Silence can protect, but it can also perpetuate misunderstanding. Anne understands that the decisions she makes now will reverberate far beyond her immediate family, influencing public perception, historical record, and even the future of the monarchy itself. She feels the weight of history pressing upon her, each document, letter, and note a reminder that the truth cannot remain buried forever. The vault itself is symbolic, a repository of past decisions, hidden realities, and untold stories. For Princess Anne, it represents both the challenge and the opportunity before her. It is a place where the past meets the present, where silence confronts conscience, and where courage meets responsibility. As she prepares to confront her brother, she carries with her the knowledge that what lies within these walls has the power to change everything. The gravity of her position is immense, yet she also recognizes the moral clarity that comes with bearing the truth. As she leaves the vault, Anne feels the tension between obligation and conscience crystallize. The secrets she has uncovered are not idle curiosities, they are urgent, consequential, and morally significant. She knows that the time for hesitation has passed. The vault may contain the past, but it also illuminates the path forward. To act or not to act is no longer a theoretical question, it is a matter of conscience, courage, and duty. She carries the knowledge with the solemnity of one who understands the power of truth, the consequences of revelation, and the fragile balance of loyalty, family, and morality. The world outside may never glimpse the contents of the royal vault, but its influence is undeniable. Every decision made within these walls has shaped public perception, family dynamics, and historical narrative. For Princess Anne, the vault is both a sanctuary and a crucible, a place where she must reconcile the weight of history with the imperatives of justice and truth. The secrets she has discovered will not remain in silence forever, the choice of how, when, and to whom they are revealed now rests with her. In the quiet reflection after leaving the vault, Anne understands the stakes more clearly than ever. The truth she carries is not merely about past events, it is about the emotional and moral well-being of her family, the integrity of the monarchy, and the long-awaited clarity that Prince William deserves. The vault has given her knowledge, but it has also presented her with a formidable challenge, to confront her brother, navigate the consequences of disclosure, and reconcile the conflicting demands of secrecy, loyalty, and moral duty. The weight of this responsibility is immense, but so too is her resolve. The secrets of the royal vault are no longer confined to history, they are poised to enter the present, and with them, the potential to reshape the future. The burden of knowledge can be a quiet torment. For Princess Anne, it is not merely a question of what she knows, but what she is willing to do with it. Over the years, she has watched her family navigate the complex interplay of public expectation, private grief, and institutional duty. She has seen her brother, King Charles, wrestle with his own responsibilities and shortcomings. She has seen the younger generation, particularly Prince William, carry the unseen scars of a tragedy that shaped their formative years. And now, she stands at a crossroads where the moral, emotional, and practical dimensions of truth collide, demanding a decision that could redefine the course of her family's history. Anne's dilemma is rooted in conflicting imperatives. On one hand, there is loyalty, a loyalty to her brother, to the monarchy, and to the idea of family as an enduring institution. Loyalty has always been central to her identity, guiding her actions and informing her decisions. It is a bond that protects, sustains, and preserves, but it is also a force that can constrain, distort, and suppress. Loyalty to the family has, for decades, required discretion, patience, and a willingness to withhold certain truths from both the public and, at times, from her own family members. But now, loyalty is tested in a way that goes beyond simple allegiance. It demands that she consider whether silence, though protective, may also be a form of harm. On the other hand, there is conscience, a moral compass that compels her to confront the truths she has uncovered, regardless of the personal or institutional cost. Conscience is less forgiving than loyalty. It does not allow postponement, compromise, or selective engagement. It is insistent, pressing, and uncompromising. Anne feels it in the quiet moments when the corridors of the palace are empty, when the world beyond the gates moves on unaware of the truths she holds. She feels it in her interactions with her nephew, in the recognition that he has lived with partial truths and unanswered questions for far too long. Her conscience tells her that to continue hiding what she knows is to perpetuate injustice, to deny clarity and understanding to those who have a right to it. The tension between these imperatives is palpable. Anne finds herself weighing the consequences of action versus inaction with meticulous care. What would happen if she confronted King Charles directly, demanding acknowledgement or disclosure? Would he resist, deflect, or attempt to suppress the conversation? What would be the public fallout if the information were to be leaked, intentionally or otherwise? How would Prince William respond? Would he feel relief, anger, betrayal, or confusion? Each potential outcome carries weight, emotional complexity, and profound implications for both